Danielle Brooker is a mama joy activation coach, writer, and author of Freedom from Busy. Through her private coaching, digital courses, writing, and her podcast, Mama Joy, she teaches ambitious, always on mamas how to move from the mess to the magic of this season of their life. Her work centres on the forgotten season of motherhood, beyond traditional postpartum, blending neuroplasticity-based coaching, somatic practices and principles, emotional context work, and soul practices to support mamas in building the foundations to thrive. She's written for and been featured in Forbes.com and Breathe, and is on a mission for mamas to reclaim this powerful season and live in their fullness. Danielle lives in Sydney with her daughter and partner, always dreaming up their next adventure. Plenty of joyful moments in this episode. Enjoy. Hello, so today we are joined by Danielle Brooker. Danielle, just come right in and introduce yourself. Tell us about you, your work, who you're a mama to, and all the things.
Oh my goodness. So grateful to be here and so special for us to connect. I know we were sort of talking off the recording of like how and when and why that happened, but maybe that'll come up, maybe it won't. So a little snapshot. I am mama to a 3.5-year-old based in Sydney, Australia, and I really specifically work with women, I say mamas in the thick of it season, having had some personal experience in that space, having spent quite a long time focusing on coaching women who were really busy, worn out, reaching a stressed out, burnt out point and transition in their life. Having become a mama myself, I then very quickly honed in on, okay, this has to be about motherhood. This has to be about reconnecting to joy, regardless of the chaos around you, regardless of what's going on, and really accessing that muscle. So that's what I do now. I call myself a joy activation coach.
I love that term. Yeah. So, as these things often go, we come into this work, but, from our own experiences. Usually it's been inspired by maybe many things, but was there something in particular that you feel like was the catalyst for, I want to work with women and I want to support them in a better way than I had?
Yeah. So, I mean, this piece for me has been a consistent evolution of my own personal journey. And I think having those touch points, like even in terms of, when I first stepped into the coaching space, I was already in a career in economics and government policy, and then moved into health charities. And so I was in a completely different space in some ways, although I can connect the dots now. That came from an absolute burnout experience. That came from really being in that high achievement mode, wanting to take on everything, thinking that I had to, and not really understanding the impacts on, not just my physical health, but like my emotions as well. And so it's been a journey. I very much got to know the patterns of busy and worked a lot with women who believed they had to be busy in order to achieve. And so I would talk about this concept of breaking up with busy, but still having all that you want, like still achieving everything, still maintaining that beautiful ambition inside of you without it letting it burn you out and wear you out, and making sure that it's coming from a place that's really you and not a covered up version of you. I would call myself the queen of unbusy. Like I had created this life of like, I love my life. I love my flow. Even when I became pregnant with my daughter, we were based in London at the time, and the pregnancy itself felt healthy and strong and grounded. And then we made this big global move. We decided, why not? The world is in chaos in the middle of a pandemic. Let's fly from London, move to Australia, and let's choose a city where we know no one. That sounds fun. And so we landed in Sydney as Sydney kind of closed down for an extended period of time, and birthed our daughter. And it was just such an interesting, beautiful, messy ride, because I had to come to terms with these these busy triggers popping up again. And I was like, no, I'm not a busy person. And then motherhood, and then the logistics of it, and the emotional context of it, and just kind of relearning some of that. And the point that changed everything for me was I was in this kind of thick of it postpartum season. we didn't have family or friends. We were starting to kind of reestablish that community in Sydney, physically. And I kept connecting with people and or scrolling on Instagram for support and resources and things that used to light me up. Like I just, pick up any personal development book and like that would be my joyful place, but nothing was hitting. Everything felt in the postpartum space like it was telling me to fix my nap schedule or to go sleep when my daughter was sleeping. I mean, like, this is like, to me, I was just feeling like this is so boring. This is not lighting me up. This feels heavy. And I was desperate for the deep connection, the sacred space. I wanted to pick up my phone and read a text that would say something like, what's lighting you up today? What's the cutest thing your daughter's done? Like, what's bringing you joy? What's really hard, and how can I help you with that hard thing today? Like, that's what I wanted. I wanted real and raw, not like bypassing the hard stuff. I just didn't want that kind of surface level fluff that kept showing up that felt heavy to me. That was one piece of it. The other piece of it was really craving the stuff that lit me up, but it's like the old tools and resources were no longer working, or I just couldn't access them. I wanted to go to women's circles. I wanted to go to, deep restorative yoga sessions. I wanted to just go out and connect over coffee. And it was like everything involved some sort of complicated logistics. My daughter really liked milk. So she was attached to me a lot. And to me, it was just this heady work of like either trying to figure out how to not be with her. And I was like, that was too complicated in and of itself, or events required me to go out after dark. I'm not going to do that when I'm sleeping on 2-hour bursts. And it just felt like this friction. And these two pieces of desperately wanting to talk about the joy so that I didn't feel like I plummeted into all of the like heavy, almost surface level things, because it was deeper messages coming up. And also wanting to bring my daughter with me into my life, wanting her to be part of the sacred, knowing that this was a season. It's not like forever it's going to feel this complicated, but why can't I just go to a mother circle and bring her along? And I'm not just talking mums and bubs yoga. It was like the next level. And for me, that was really my point of, okay, I'm just going to create it. Like I just have to start talking about this, making it real. And that's where my shift in at least the work I do in this world is really then honing in on mothers in the thick of it and really having this conversation about joy, especially in a season where it feels so inaccessible, and bringing it back to why it's so critical, therefore, to continue to work on it. And I started to do things like I created mother's circles at my house, and I called it Mother Circle and Playgroup. So like, bring your kid, but let's shift the focus on you. Instead of playgroup and mother circle, let's make it Mother Circle and Playgroup. Bring your kid, make them be part of our life. Let us interact. Let us be in this season. And also let's have those deep and meaningful conversations that make us actually feel connected when we walk away.
I love that. I love all of that. It's there's a lot of layers to what you've just said, and of course you brought in COVID, which obviously is like a whole other thing, because there's very different challenges and very abnormal ways of living during that time. But I think the points that you've made about mothers coming into motherhood already being set up for a new style of busyness that they've never experienced before, but often not. It's one of the things we don't often talk about is how mundane it can be and how monotonous it can be. And yet we are so busy. We're not quite sure what we've achieved that day, but we are just so busy, and yet perhaps maybe quite unfulfilled, but not really feeling like we can say that to anyone for fear that we may be seen as somebody who is not a good mother, not enjoying motherhood. And yet this busyness is so insidious. Women today, I think, have more pressures, more responsibilities. They're working outside of their home and they're working inside of their home, and each cannot really meet, can they? And so a lot of mothers are feeling so depleted. Do you think that depletion, burnout, do you think that's inevitable in this modern day society? Can we avoid that?
I have so much to say on this, Katura. So here's the thing that was happening for me, is that I very quickly felt the slippery slope of believing in the fact that this season had to equal burnout. This season had to equal depleted. Now, don't get me wrong. I was depleted. Like, absolutely, like literally I was depleted. I was, having conversations with the nutritionist about like insatiable hunger. And she's like, "You're not hungry, you're tired." I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm starving." She's like, "You're tired." I'm like, "Okay, like let's fix that." Yes, my iron levels had dropped and I needed to really focus on not just like cramming in some more steak, but actually like how and when and why I was doing that. And so absolutely, there were physical things that needed to be restored in my body postpartum, for sure. And the more that I kept showing up in these kind of conversations, and conversations can be like filtered in lots of different ways. They could be literal conversations like we're having, or texting a girlfriend, but it's also just like the resources we absorb and read and download and scroll through, right? And so much of it is presented in that way of like how to support you in that depletion. But at the same time, I personally was feeling the heaviness of, yeah, but like, you're just telling me I'm depleted in a season where I feel like I can't even do the next step. Like literally making that nutritionist appointment felt hard for me. All of that being said, I absolutely believe that we don't need to be depleted, and we certainly do not have to burn out in this season. And my passion is to really offer one access point, which is really through this conversation about joy that we're not having, and how that can really support us to actually expand the capacity that we have in the season. So meeting us where we're at instead of trying to give us tools and resources that might help in 5-10 years time. But like right now in the thick of it, okay, like my situation, for example, I was sleeping in 2-hour bursts, full stop. I, at the time, didn't have like daytime support for my daughter. So it was like telling me to just sleep when she sleeps, but then my soul was feeling dead inside because I wasn't doing my creative pursuits. Like if I sat at my desk and had some work time, I would come alive. Now that's energy restoration. That's energy replenishment. So what do I choose? Do I choose to sleep, or do I choose to, do that energy restoration? It was like this constant balance. So I think it's this piece around acknowledging the season you're in and not fighting it, like actually being okay with where you're at, acknowledging literally the physical side of the depletion and absolutely getting support there. And then also giving yourself some access points to how can you personally expand your capacity, even if you have low iron, for example.
Yes. I think a lot of mothers are going into motherhood, they're already depleted going in, aren't they?
Yeah, for sure.
And maybe they're not really aware of it. And then they're walking into motherhood with this dedication and commitment and thinking that it's all about the child. And that's what we're told. And that's what is valued, is the child's well-being. And so a lot of the time they're not even aware that they're depleted. But then other times, if I can go out on a limb and say this, because I feel like I can, having children that have grown, and I've been so guilty of this, there's another take in that we almost wear this badge of honor of being depleted. The more depleted we are, the more busy we must be, and the more dedicated we must be to our mothering. And the more we're giving our child. And that is what our society celebrates. So that's what we strive to do, is about we are being seen as being the busiest mum that is always running around for the needs of her child. And then so in that way, I think the depletion can become not just a physical thing, but perhaps a real mindset.
Absolutely.
Problem.
And I would say it's almost this behavioral pattern. So having worked so closely on kind of dismantling busy patterns with women, I see this is almost just like this turbocharged lens now in motherhood, because it's exactly the same pattern that might have shown up early in your career when you wanted to just go and do all the things, but then would like come home at the end of the day and like pass out. You were so exhausted. Yeah. It's what is the, I guess, the steps that are going unconsciously here for you to put that thing first. And I really kind of feel into what you're sharing in terms of almost this depletion. And this is what I'm talking about, like all the scrolling and like, yes, you are depleted. And like, and as much as I love a good joke and a funny meme, and I share them all the time, sometimes if we're erring too hard on that kind of negative humor, it's beautiful because it resonates and we feel seen and heard. And also it can help us buy into that rhetoric, right? Of like, I need to keep showing up for my kid. That ad just popped up about the I don't know, the planet friendly nappy brand that I didn't buy, and therefore I need to switch it up. And like, oh, hang on, that friend just said that she started solids with this meal book instead of that meal book. Like, there's so many layers that, and I found personally, as the queen of unbusy, that was one of the most surprising things for me, is like, I was getting caught up in all of that myself. I was like, oh, I need to do that. Oh, I'm not a good mom. Oh, I haven't done it that way. And I'm like, hang on, that's not you. That's not your baseline. That's not your voice, but it can very quickly pull us away. I don't love it when we also just kind of inside note, it's like, I don't like it though when we then therefore use that as an out, like, oh, well, this is just a societal thing, or this is just a systemic thing, therefore, because to me, personally, that feels like a closed gate. It's like, well, what do I do with that then? And you're just like, oh, it's fine, but keep going. And I'm like, well, no, there's a choice in it. And this is what became very clear to me, even as someone who would teach people how to access joy, I was feeling quite disconnected from it, and therefore feeling a bit like a fraud. Like, how can I be doing this if I can't even, like, do that thing that brings me joy anymore, and it doesn't feel good? It's like, well, that's part of the process, because when we are depleted and when we are buying into these busy patterns, it's really this part of us that is saying, I need to act as if. And if I do that, then like my body will feel safe. And it's more familiar to do the busy thing because that feels safe to us. So I feel more in control. But actually, I mean, the thick of it season is so far from control, right? It's just a season of uncertainty and new learnings. And to me, there's this framework that I absolutely love working with, which is understanding that at all times we have these intrinsic basic human needs that are, working beneath the surface for us. Subconsciously, we are always working to meet these needs, whether we think we are or not. And the difference that makes the difference is we can either meet them in a really like beautiful, healthy, resourceful, sustainable way, or we're meeting them in a bit more of an unresourceful kind of friction way. And these points about like, how can we meet our need for both certainty and uncertainty, because we need both in life. Certainty is those feelings of comfort and safety, and uncertainty is like variety and challenge and excitement. So we do need both, otherwise we'd be really bored. But let's not meet them through the lens of trying to claw back control in ways that aren't going to work. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I mean, I have so much to say on this. I could just keep going.
Yeah, I think your comments there have just intrigued me, and probably intrigued the audience too, is that we want to know more. So I can see, the listeners thinking, okay, I'm going to check her out because this sounds really, really interesting. I'm intrigued. You talk about being in the thick of it. Is that, I would argue that the thick of it could apply to many different seasons, in fact, all of mothering. And, of course, it would vary mother to mother. She might find the thick of it at toddler years, or she might find it the newborn years or the teenage years. So what are you actually talking about when you say that, the thick of it?
So very quickly, I realized that there's this turning point that happens in like what I would say almost like immediate postpartum, right? Absolutely. Like, let's focus on Baba. Let's get them settled in. Let's settle into our groove and like what that mother-baby bond is, and like, routines and schedules and all the things. But also very quickly that shift of focus in terms of all the love and support for you early postpartum, if you've set yourself up for that, kind of drops off. And then it just becomes like, how's the baby going? Are they walking? Are they crawling? Are they teething? Are they, and it's kind of like, well, where am I in this? Like, where am I? Can I have a conversation about me that doesn't include my baby? And like, also that's up to you to have that conversation. But also like, we have, there's just like almost this drop off of support. And I just want to preface support with support goes both ways. Like, it's both a calling in of support, maybe an offering of support, but you need to be open to receive that too.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the shift of like, I was like, we need to talk about that beyond postpartum. I know you say like postpartum is forever, right? And I was like, well, yeah, there's beyond, but there's also constant cycles and seasons within that. And for me, when I use the phrase in the thick of it, all I am like, there is no definition per se. Like, I would imagine at one point I was thinking, oh yes, like in the first 12 to 18 months. Then I was like, oh no, in the under 3-year-old stage. And now I'm like, oh no, the before starting school era, like, so you're absolutely right. I think it changes. And I think all it is a sensation in your body. If I say to you, oh, like, how are you doing? And you're like, I'm in the thick of it. Like, I feel that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, no matter what literal season you are in motherhood, kids starting or leaving school or anything in between, within that season, there's a cycle. Like, I'm not going to catch you every single day saying I'm in the thick of it, but like, you will know what that feels like. And so I really just use that expression to make you feel something, and you will know what that is.
Yeah. Good to know. Good to know. Call it the thick of it at any stage.
Full permission.
Exactly. But it is so true. It's like anything that, once the immediate excitement, I guess, has worn off after any period of time, whether we've lost a loved one and then we have visitors for a few days or a few weeks and then that drops off, or whether we've had a new baby, it's often that time that we need the most support, isn't it? When things have died down, when we have a chance to really sit with it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Think, oh my goodness, I'm alone now. How do I move forward? So there may be some mothers, though, Danielle, that are thinking joy.
Mm-hmm.
That is the last thing on my mind right now.
Yeah.
If Danielle was saying she can help me get more organised, or she can help me stop losing my cool in the morning, or I'd probably relate. But why have you chosen to focus on increasing and empowering mothers with more joy?
I so feel you on this question. It very quickly takes me back to this place where I was like super busy, very stressed, doing a million things, saying yes to everything way before motherhood. And I think it was like my mother or someone very close to me essentially saying, oh, why don't you just, not do one of those things? And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like I was so like defensive. And so like, I feel like that's what joy does as well. It's like, what do you mean joy? What do you mean? Haven't you seen my things to do list? Like, don't you know my life right now? So first of all, like, if you are even like in this episode listening, I celebrate you, because joy is hard. And I think it's like this misnomer that joy is really easy and therefore like it'll just come naturally, so I don't have to focus on it and it's a fun thing, like of course it'll show up. I bet you it's the same with massage clients, Couture. It's like they think, oh, it's so lovely, but so I don't need to rebook because I know I'll remember, and then you forget to rebook because it's like, oh, it's a nice to have. It'll just show up. Well, nice to haves don't just show up. We have to work on them. And for me, joy is one of the most. It's actually one of the most challenging emotions to access. And when we think about an emotional scale, we can sort of go all the way from like joy and excitement and things that energize us, all the way through to pain and sorrow and anger and resentment, right? Brene Brown has this incredible quote where she says, you cannot selectively numb your emotions, because if you numb your pain, you are numbing your joy. And this is literally referring to the part of our brain that fires up emotions as like one part. So if you're like shutting down that one part, you're shutting down your whole experience of life. And I just think like anyone listening could probably easily right now be like, oh yeah, I'll tell you something I was angry about the other day, or oh geez, that resentment hit me by surprise the other day. But if I ask you about your joy, you're like, like there's a little bit of a falter. So partly this is a conversation that needs to be had because we're not talking about it, because we think it's just going to show up, and it's not a nice to have, it's a necessity. Joy gives us, we were talking about capacity before. To me, joy is like this reservoir, this muscle strength that if I keep filling it up, if I keep working on the strength of it, it's going to be there on those like very thick of it days, in those crisis moments. Like it's not going to feel like joy. Oh my gosh, no, like sitting in a hospital emergency room is not going to feel like joy. But if you have been serving your joy, if you've been expanding your joy, and if that capacity rests inside your body, it becomes your strength in those moments as well. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about embodied joy. Does that answer your question? I mean, there's so many places I can keep going if we want to dive deeper.
It does, yeah. And I think just to clarify, as you've mentioned, like this can be really foreign to a lot of people, because joy is not something that that we are necessarily taught. It's something that we choose to feel. And a lot of people can't allow themselves to go there, especially mothers, or their joy is purely based on seeing joyful things happening with their child. So we're
Yes,
not
good point.
talking about that, are we? We're not talking about the cuteness. I mean, obviously it still brings about a lot of good feelings and a lot of good hormones when you're admiring the cuteness of your child, or you're seeing them, walk for the first time, or, they're doing something funny and you have a little giggle. That's joy. But we're talking about something deeper than that, aren't we?
Yeah, I agree. That is joy.
Yeah.
And also there's a depth to it that we really need to fully understand to almost rewire our system to receive it. So the missing piece is that joy is actually really uncertain. It's like quite a, a flip side or like the tension side of uncertainty is you want to control things. If things are too chaotic and uncertain, and so it's part of the reason why therefore it's easy to resist it, because it's unexpected, right? Joy creates variety by the very nature of that spark inside of you, that literal emotional connection. It is like, ooh, like it could take on a life of its own, right? And so that's partly what's happening, is that that's a bit too, our body is sort of signaling, oh, that's not safe. We've not been there before, or we go there a little bit. And there's an activation practice that I use where like I ask you to, we access that place of joy, and then I ask you to expand it. And then like halfway through, I'm like, and if you're feeling any resistance, it's pretty natural, and everyone's like, oh yeah, because I didn't know what to do after that, because we reach this like threshold where we it's almost like that numbing thing. It's like, oh yeah, I know joy. I laughed at my baby yesterday, but like we're talking about it at this level. So like the joy is being able to drop into that moment laughing at your baby, to like feel that sensation in your body and just like allow it to take over, to like be okay with crossing that threshold, and then to recognize that feeling when it shows up in your day-to-day life. It could be your first mouthful of coffee. It could be like putting on one of your favorite pair of socks. Like it literally, it might surprise you how small the moments are. And to me, it's less about the story. Like it's less about the sock. It's less about the coffee. And it's more about the sensation or the reaction that is happening inside of your body.
So it is definitely a learned practice in a way, because they can be subtle things, is what I'm hearing you saying. And it's something that maybe we're used to feeling joy from much more obvious things. And before we had children, we could go out and indulge ourselves a lot more. And of course, the joy would come a lot more easily. But with a child, that's probably going to not be the case. We're probably going to have to learn to experience joy in varying levels and in varying forms.
Yeah.
So tell us how we can do that, because I know a lot of mothers talk to me about being in flight or fight.
Absolutely.
And they feel like, I can't afford to feel happy or relaxed, because the moment I do that, something else happens and I'm immediately put back into that flight or fight sort of feeling. What would you say to that?
Oh my gosh, it's just, I'm like, oh yeah, I get you.
We're almost afraid to feel joy.
Oh, I totally get it. So, okay, I have so many things to say. Let me start with some context. So in some of my most thick of it moments, like I have felt so isolated, so disconnected from myself and therefore others as well. And connection as well. And I know this is, obviously humankind thrives through connection, but connection is definitely one of my places I go to thrive and feel joy. And what was happening for me is I'm a big dreamer, visionary. I've always got these creative ideas. I could just close my eyes. I'm like, yes, I see it. What was happening for me in those thick of it moments is like everything was blank. It was like this big, like hard shut, blank, heavy door, like not even a door. I couldn't see a door and I was scared. I was like, oh my God, that is literally a part of my soul that has just vanished. And I was like, is it coming back? Is it coming back? Is it coming back? And in those moments, I'd be like, oh, well, Danielle, you're a motherhood joy coach. And like, you have all these practices and just like go and do one of the activate. I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, what do you mean? Like, and what was frankly scarier is like accessing some of those practices was not working for me anymore as well.
Yeah.
So I'm totally like meeting what you were sharing there, Katura, and saying like, it's meeting ourselves where we're at in this new season and being like, okay, well, what will it feel like now, or what can it feel like? And so to me, it's this process of signaling safety in your body to go there. And of course, if you're in that flight or even like freeze mode, which is essentially that numbing of any of those feelings, it's this training the muscle to know that like, let's teach your muscles that joy is actually safe. So that even when you're like frozen, it also accepts a bit of joy in it as safety. It does, like I always say, like I think we overcomplicate things. So I think even when we're in that flight or freeze, I always get the flight and freeze mode. You know, when we're kind of activated in that way, we can think, oh, well, it has to be this giant thing. I have to go through this 10-point action plan, or the only thing that's going to fix this is going to a yoga class. And I couldn't possibly go to a yoga class right now. You know, like look at my schedule and look at this and look at that. And it's like, actually what I'm talking about is just teeny tiny kind of muscle release moments to support you in that moment. So joy for you could simply be focusing on opening up your body. It could literally, like, whether that's some of, you know, the beautiful nervous system support tools, like literally some grounding breaths, literally like put your legs up the wall, dance it, you know, dancing it out with your kid. You know, literally there are smaller things, and I think we always jump to the bigger things that might seem like nothing, that might not even seem like joy, that might seem annoying to you. And I would almost say if you're frustrated with this conversation, you're onto some gold. Because I always say to my clients, it's like, you know, make this annoyingly simple. If you think that it's you're there, no, go make it even easier. So for the person who's kind of stuck in that mode of just being like, I actually, if I let go of anything right now, everything will fall apart. This is not about jumping into pure blissful ecstatic motion. This is literally about meeting yourself where you're at, acknowledging the season that you're in, and quite possibly literally giving yourself a hug. That's the doorway.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you've simplified that, and you've made it clear that it doesn't have to be major shifts. It can be little things, and they really add up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't they? And if we can maybe even do several of those things a day, think of how much our nervous system will be thanking us. Yeah.
And I mean, I've got, you know, tons of little short practices and tools and tips and tricks, and I'm happy to, you know, share some now, but I just wanted to really hone in on the fact that honestly, sometimes it starts that's irritatingly small. And I think small and repetitive has a much more profound impact.
So maybe let's talk like from a practical point of view. So maybe a mother that's dreading the witching hour. What could she do in preparation for that? And how continue through that? If she's somebody that immediately starts to feel her shoulders lift and her heart start beating a bit faster and immediately feeling quite tense, how can she work a way to reverse that in some way?
I kind of just want to like cry and scream and yell with her to begin with.
It's not easy.
But okay, like I literally feel like saying, well, give me a call and have a vent. Like I think honestly, like whatever that version of a vent is actually really critical. And I think a lot of the time we hold ourselves back because we breathe it all in, suck it up, and like, we can do it. We're just going to keep going. I'm like, no, we have to vent. I'm very clear with my partner, for example. I mean, even before our daughter, I would say to him, like, I'm an external processor. Sometimes what that looks like in action is like, I literally just need to go, you know, you don't have to do anything with it. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to agree or disagree, but I need to get it out of my system and I need someone or something to reflect that back to me. So what I mean by that is if you're kind of, you're moving into the switching hour, you're starting to feel the tension rise, like how can you get it out of your body is literally what I'm saying. So like I could tell you to pick up a pen and paper and journal it all out. But I know personally for me as a journaler, as a writer, I didn't touch a piece of paper and pen for so long. So like, just go with what feels accessible. Literally, like go into your room and scream into your pillow. Like I'm not kidding. Like literally go and do those things. Literally call up a friend and say, I need to have a big vent, or leave a voice note vent, even better. So like there are things that you can do. Like we can shake it out. We can dance it out. We can hug it out. Like there are, if you're feeling the tension rise, you can, lie down on the floor in starfish pose and literally feel the ground holding you and breathe. Mm-hmm. Go stand on the grass, look at a tree, like I can rattle off all of these like essentially nervous system regulation tools, but I know even in that moment of the tension rising, you're going to resist it and you're not going to want to do it. So I think if you could just have the one word of release inside of you, I think that's a beautiful first step. Like just release. What could release look like right now? What could release feel like right now? Before you move into that, and just kind of know that you're in a season and it's pretty natural as well. There's this other piece I really want to draw in, but I'm wanting it to feel practical, because I know you're saying like the example is like we're literally moving into that witching hour, and I know this is kind of stepping out of that and going, if every single day you're having that same repetitive feeling, it's about kind of stepping back now and going, well, what is the infrastructure that needs to be in place to release some of that pressure? And that infrastructure could literally be a conversation with a girlfriend every single day to release the pressure, or the scream into the pillow. Maybe that's enough. But maybe it's also, how could I improve the systems around my home to make this work better? Which is kind of a whole nother conversation around support and like literal practical things, which I'm obviously happy to chat about. But I just kind of wanted to insert that as well.
Yeah, I think a little bit of maybe planning for that time of the day, acknowledgement that it is going to be tricky.
Yes.
Is a big thing.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, just externalizing things. So even that acknowledgement is saying out loud, this is going to be a tricky time of my day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we tend to do as high achievers, and like if we're getting stuck in those busy patterns again, is we skip the release point. Like we just suck it up, which is that numbing or that freeze mode. We're like, just keep going. But that's really just your nervous system going, it's going to have to release it at some other point. So start with the release, and then like, I'm a strategist. I love having planning conversations, and I totally go there, but it's also like, let's just hang out in the uncomfortable release first and then go there.
Okay. Personally, I think breath is amazing and incredible, and it immediately just takes a lot of away. And I love my essential oils too. So just breathing in a physical sense that it's always something that has lavender in it. And I just feel like that really can shift a lot in my head.
I will say I was carrying around for years. I mean, I always love my oils, but like specifically I felt it switched into rollers. I just constantly just breathe it in constantly throughout the day. Just breathe.
It's really beautiful. Such a simple thing we can purchase. Yeah.
Oh, or light a candle whilst you're in witching hour. Oh, yes. That is one of my favorite tools, actually.
There you go. Yeah, there's so many. And as we've said, like they can be so simple to implement. It's not going to take away the full brunt of the feelings, but it is going to we're going to feel more supported anyway.
And I'll give a distinction there on where this piece of embodied joy comes in that practical example, is in the choice. So in that moment, you have a choice to choose the release or the soften, which is like the candle, breathe the oil, take the breaths, scream into the pillow, whatever it is. That is a choice. And what I would say is that is you choosing joy. Does it feel like joy in the moment? Probably not. But it probably does feel hard. And it's actually also an access point to soften your nervous system, or to increase your capacity. If you were to keep doing that over and over again, the witching hour would feel softer.
Yeah, exactly. So in your thick of it moments, where do you find joy?
On the floor.
Yep.
Get me on the floor, like on my back, feeling the ground. Don't mind if my daughter's crawling all over me, jumping on me, whatever. Child's pose. Definitely. Like for me, I'm someone who has always needed grounding. I'm very kapha, if you know the Ayurvedic system, and it's like, that's where I need to go. The kind of vata energy, the chaotic, like going, airy feeling. I'm like, bring me back to the ground. So in my thick of it moments, I really kind of do go back to those basics. I could say, oh, go for long walks on the beach. I'm like, I don't. I actually resist that because I got to get in the car and pack my daughter up and blah, blah, blah. Like, it doesn't happen. But I do try and sit on our deck and stare at the trees, or sit in a patch of sunshine, or one of the things that I started doing that really felt joyful to me, I'm someone who needs a lot of solo time, and I used to go on a lot of coffee dates and journal and read and everything, and so I started to just do that with my daughter. In the summer months, we would lay out a picnic blanket on the deck, and like I would set up all my beautiful oracle cards and things, and she would shuffle through them and bring her drawing out, and I would just sit there, and like, it felt a little bit more chaotic than a usual solo coffee date, but I would still get that feeling of sacredness. So that's a bigger example when I have like that more capacity, or literally in her playroom, instead of just chucking the morning tea on the table, I'm like, let's set up a little tablecloth and like, let me bring my journal out, and like, I might just hold my journal. I might not write in it, but I might just hold it. Like, it's literally finding those moments of like things that I know feel good to me, but might not be super accessible right now. I still kind of try and find a way to touch in on them. And I'll tell you what, here's another maybe slightly obscure one. Joy to me feels like saying no. So in the thick of it moments, I'm literally going through my list of like, where can I say no? How can I delete things out of my diary? Where can I say like, no, I'm not going to a grocery shop. I'm not going to a Westfield. I'm not, and it does, like, sometimes that can flip to the other end and I end up a little bit like more hermit-like in my home. But also, if that's a moment and that's a season, I need it and I'm okay with that. It's like, where can I not reply to that text message? Like, that's literally a place that I go, that is joy, but doesn't necessarily feel like joy in the moment.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. I mean, my to-do list used to be endless, and now I'm in a different stage of my life and motherhood, but I pretty much drop a couple of things every day from the things that I had planned to do that day, and it feels good.
Yes.
It doesn't feel
it's liberating.
It's liberating. It feels joyful. It doesn't feel like I'm letting someone down. It doesn't feel like I'm, failing or falling short. It feels like I'm working within my capacity.
Yes.
And if I could give a gift to mothers, it would be to start doing that at a much younger time, like when your kids are much younger, because we can always drop something.
Yeah.
Honestly, the world is not going to end.
Yes. Okay. I know that we need to wrap up soon, but I have a very quick practical example of that, of like a way to drop something. And going back to that example of sharing, of just like getting caught up in what everyone else is doing and the best thing and reading all the resources and la la la. I recently needed to buy my daughter a bigger lunchbox. This is like so simple. I'm like, she needs a bigger lunchbox.
Yeah.
And I asked a bunch of friends in like a chat group, and they all gave me about 10 different brands. And my response was, aren't they all the same? And they were all like, yeah, pretty much. And then I had one friend in particular who in person said to me, do you want me to just tell you exactly what we did? I said, yes. And she sent me the exact link of exactly what she bought and why. And I just ordered it. Like, I was like, close everything off. I really don't care. I'm not going to triple check. I know she did her research at some point. And I think it's like things like that. It's like saying no to not having the control over it all as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very freeing.
Yeah. Does it really matter?
Yes, I know. Such a silly example, but like that's why I wanted to share it.
That's actually a relatable example, because we do get caught up in all the, all the things, like every single thing we do has to be the best for our child, or it has to improve their well-being or their mental health.
It's overwhelming. And then you want to be eco-conscious, and then you're like, oh, that's right, I need to nourish myself too. And like, oh, yes, it's a lot.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. I can't believe how quickly our time has actually gone. We're going to have to do a to be continued, I think.
Okay, that sounds fabulous, because this has been so joyful for me. I really appreciate it. And I can really feel the love from your audience as well.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's been great to have you on. It's so refreshing for you to explain what you mean by your, what is it called again? Your page, Mama
Joy Movement.
Mama Joy Movement, and you're a Mama Joy coach.
Yeah.
Yes, which is so refreshing. Like, there's so many things that we do in working with women, but this actually just feels, as soon as you hear that, you think,
I love that.
Sounds like something I would like to work with.
Yes, absolutely.
How can women find you, and which ways can they work with you?
So where I hang out online is in my inbox. Like, if you email me, I will reply like in a human way, like, let's connect. So Danielle@daniellebrooker.com. And the only other place I hang out online is really Instagram. So that's where I'm Mama Joy Movement, MAMA Joy Movement. And I do, my deepest work is my one-to-one client work. And then I just have this, I have a collection of a whole bunch of different offers. One of the ideas brewing at the moment I shared with Couture is like this intimate retreat experience if you're kind of Aussie based and can get to somewhere near Sydney. But I also ran this beautiful online retreat experience recently. That's the second year in a row. And so if you want to access some of that content, email me or DM me on Instagram, and I can kind of tell you how to do that, because it's like just a beautiful mix of global experts on all sorts of pieces around motherhood, but with the lens really being on you, not your children or your parenting or your career, or like, it's just like you, the whole person. Yes.
And you've got a book too, haven't you?
Oh, yes. My Freedom from Busy book that I wrote before becoming a mother, that is still absolutely applicable, and also will one day do a little revision with some motherhood examples. But it's, the practices in there are super easy, simple tools. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your fresh approach and for all that you offer to mothers. You truly are a gift.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
I hope that you enjoyed this episode and that it offered something helpful to your own mothering experience. If you are a pregnant woman or know someone who is, head over to my website to receive your free copy of the postpartum checklist and contact list. And if you'd like to be better prepared for your postpartum, both practically and mentally, purchase the Peaceful Postpartum ebook, a 52-page interactive guide on what you need to know and what matters most in postpartum. And so that we can get these conversations out to more mothers, I'd be grateful if you could like, share, and review this podcast, and we'll see you next time.